And we welcome you to College Football Live with Harry Lyles Jr., Sam Acho, and Molly McGrath. I'm Zubin Mehenti. Molly here is part of our Sideline series with the top reporters in the business will be joining us all week long to give us their expertise and perspective. And let's begin with the biggest story in the sport at this moment, and that is Alabama's got a starting quarterback. I guess it's unofficially official. A lot of people believe Ty Simpson was in the lead for quite some time, holding off Keelan Russell and Austin Mack. Now, he's thrown just 50 passes in his career. We should mention the last three full-time starting quarterbacks at Alabama. One won a national title, the other won the Heisman Trophy, and the other made the playoffs. So Simpson has some large shoes to fill. Of course, Alabama opens this season in a big game against Florida State. Molly, I want to start with you. I know you're very plugged into the Alabama program, having been on the sidelines at Bryant-Denny and following around the country. Just your perspective on this move by Kalen DeBoer tapping Ty Simpson, the starter.
Well, I think that just shows how much Kalen DeBoer respects and trusts Ty Simpson to be his starter, because Kalen DeBoer, an offensive-minded head coach, he had a guy like Austin Mack who followed him over from Washington to Alabama. I know they loved Austin Mack. He's 6'6", tall, NFL-type body, but Ty Simpson, I'm hearing within these circles, is the guy because of the confidence that he exudes, because of his control of the offense. So they really trust him, and I think when you look at what's happening at Alabama within the last year, the narrative surrounding Kalen DeBoer in this program since Nick Saban stepped down, it's that the sky is falling. It's Alabama is not the Alabama of old. What are we going to do? There's just panic in Tuscaloosa, but fear not. I think everyone needs to pump the brakes a little bit. I mean, Alabama starts the season for the preseason poll as the number 8 team. That's the lowest preseason ranking since when? Nick Saban's second year. It's Kalen DeBoer's second season at Alabama. I think we need to have a little bit more patience. I know that's not in the DNA of Crimson Tide fans, but it's in the right hands with Kalen DeBoer for two reasons. One, because they have their offensive coordinator, Ryan Grubb, returning to join Kalen DeBoer. The two were together for 17 years, and now they're reuniting after one season off where Grubb was with the Seahawks in the NFL. And the second reason why I really trust this program in Kalen DeBoer's hands is because this team and this locker room loves and respects Kalen DeBoer. Their team captain, Tyler Booker, told me last year, one of my favorite quotes I've heard from a player in all of my years in this profession. He said, you know, Nick Saban expected greatness out of you, but Kalen DeBoer appreciates the greatness in you. So there's just a different level of appreciation there, and there's no right or wrong way to coach. But this locker room really loves the way that Kalen DeBoer coaches them. They're behind him. They're going to play for him. And I think we'll see a really big jump in year 2 for Kalen DeBoer.
Well, this locker room also loves and respects Ty Simpson. Ty Simpson is the people's choice, if you will. You mentioned Tyler Booker. Tyler Booker just tweeted out, "It's time," with a T and a Y for Ty Simpson. And also, you talk about guys like Caden Proctor, the offensive lineman, one of the best players in the nation. He's been saying, man, we know who our starting quarterback is. Ty Simpson has waited in the wings, and I think it is his time to shine. He's his 4th year in the program. He's the son of a coach. And the people, the players, not just the coaches, but the people who see him every single day, the offense, the defense, have had Ty's back for a while now. And so I think it's the right decision for Alabama, and Crimson Tide fans should be excited.
Yeah, guys, to me, this Alabama team feels like it sort of has the DNA of the early Nick Saban era teams. I know later on we got to big-name quarterbacks, but early on it was, hey, you've got a quarterback in place that you're going to be able to trust. He's going to have weapons on the outside. You've got Ryan Williams, obviously. We all expect him to take a big leap this year. Jam Miller in the backfield. And then also, of course, a very experienced defense, right, led by, in the middle, the anchor LT Overton. To me, this just seems like an Alabama team. Again, there's not a lot of sexy parts maybe again at quarterback, but the rest of the team is really complete. I mean, and if those are your two big questions, really, you know, if their quarterback is going to be a superstar, the rest of the team looks fantastic. To me, I think Alabama is set up for success, especially Kalen DeBoer, who has been known in a second year under a job, whether it has been at Fresno State or at Washington, his teams have always taken a leap in year 2. And Molly, to your point, a lot of people having high expectations for Alabama. 9-4 in your first year as the Crimson Tide head coach historically is pretty dang good. So I think Alabama's in for a good season.
We will see. One of the things we wanted to mention was, you know, Alabama, Florida State's a pretty darn good week 1 matchup, but there are great games everywhere you look in week number 1, especially when you look at top 10 teams. This could be a doozy. Texas and Ohio State. Of course, they'll play August 30th at the Shoe. It'll be a rematch of their playoff matchup last year. And you saw those 3 matchups. It's the first time we've ever had 3 top 10 matchups to open a season. Speaking of top, Ohio State ended the season last year on top, taking Texas out the door on the way to the title. If there's any solace for the Longhorns, they're the only program in America to make each of the last 2 college football playoff appearances. They'll play at the Shoe. They had an amazing game 20 years ago. It's the anniversary of an amazing game they played at the Shoe 2 decades ago last year, and it'll be Ohio against the world again on August 30th. Harry, I want to start with you for the X factors in this game. And the one thing I want to mention, because I have an idea where you might be going, is that Arch Manning has never thrown a pass on the road in his college career to this point.
Yeah, Zubin, to me, I think Arch's composure is the real X factor here. Look, he had 2 starts last year against UTSA and Mississippi State, both at home, as you mentioned. Then obviously he did have some other moments against bigger teams, but they were just that. They were moments. They were not an entire body of work. He is going to be in a hostile environment in Columbus, Ohio, coming off of a national championship with 100,000 fans trying to harass you. That is a different atmosphere than anything he has played in, and I think a lot of people obviously expect composure out of somebody with the last name Manning, but until we kick the ball off on August 30th, we're really not going to know what that is going to look like. Obviously, they've got a lot of new pieces from last year, including Ohio State, who is reloading, basically losing a ton of NFL talent, but again, they reload, they don't rebuild. How difficult is that going to be for him, and how does he respond the first time he does see some controversy in game?
Yeah, and Harry, it doesn't help that Coach Ryan Day with the Buckeyes is imploring their fans to be as loud as possible. He said, I want them to have to use a silent cadence. I don't want them to be able to use a clap in this game. So they want to make it as difficult as possible for Arch Manning in this one. And the storylines, when I go into a game like this, if I'm a sideline reporter on one of these broadcasts, I like to think in themes. And what group am I going to post up behind for this game? What's going to be the storyline? For me, it's Texas's offensive line. The fact that they only have 1 returning starter from last year for their offensive line, that's the biggest question mark. All of the other starters are now departed to the NFL. A ton of talent has left. Granted, now the guys who will be starting and filling in have some experience here and there, but how will this group gel and mesh together, especially with a young and inexperienced quarterback? And when you talk to Sark and everyone around this Texas program, they say that Arch Manning is cool as a cucumber. He is someone who is unfazed. But my question is, how unfazed is this offensive line going to be in this environment? I'm less concerned about their quarterback, more concerned about these linemen.
Yeah, I think if there's not a concern, it goes to the safeties of both teams. That's the X factor for me. It's Caleb Downs for Ohio State and Michael Taft for Texas, 2 preseason All-Americans, but who took different roads to get there. Michael Taft was a walk-on. He earned a scholarship, and all of a sudden he's an All-American. He's going to be huge when it comes to defending Jeremiah Smith and whoever lines up at quarterback for Ohio State. He's a big-time playmaker and one of the leaders of the defense. But on the other side of the ball, it's Caleb Downs. Caleb Downs is going to be one of the top players drafted in the upcoming draft. In my opinion, he's one of the best players, top 5 players in all of college football. He'll be trying to help and see what is Arch Manning going to do at quarterback, if he can whether get another turnover like he did the last time they played each other, or make a critical game-saving play like he did in the red zone. So if you're standing behind anybody, Molly, stand behind those safeties on either side of the ball.
Yeah, Sam, I think to your point, Caleb Downs is the guy that I think about in that defensive backfield for Ohio State, especially with a newer receiving group that Texas is going to have. Obviously, they lost Matthew Golden to the NFL, and so having those new weapons, again, with Arch and that experienced defensive backfield for Ohio State, I think that is a huge, huge matchup to watch in this game. Again, especially with that Columbus crowd, man. We've all been to a game in Columbus, especially when that team is good, especially coming off a national championship. It is going to be roaring in that building.
No doubt. It's just anecdotal, but it's been a long time. Sam, go ahead. You got something. I saw you go. Go ahead.
Just real quick, I know we've made a couple points about the noise at Ohio State, and I get it, but like you have to understand, Texas expects the same thing as well. So they're practicing with these big old loudspeakers, blaring noise, blaring crowd noise. They're practicing with the silent count already. So it's not going to be a surprise or something new to any away team. Of course, it'll be loud, but think about when Texas plays A&M at Kyle Field. That's one of the loudest places I've ever played. I could barely hear the person next to me. So yes, it will be loud, but the team is preparing for the sound.
Yeah, I'll just say anecdotally, it's been a long time since the one team in the country arguably the best defensive and offensive player in the country, and Ohio State might have both with Caleb Downs and Jeremiah Smith. We'll see. On the way, it's another big top 10 matchup. We're going to discuss the real Death Valley, plus why the biggest stars in college football today actually gathered in Philadelphia.
College Football Live is brought to you by Dollar Snacky Hour at Sonic. Live free, eat Sonic.
This is a beautiful time in a wonderful town. We have real football happening for the first time in months.
It's Farmageddon.
It's the Aer Lingus Football Classic on week 0 in Dublin.
One of the longest running uninterrupted series in college football history, though not in Ames or the Little Apple, as you heard Joe Tessitore say. It will be on the Green Emerald Isle. We're getting ready for the real Death Valley. We talked about it before the break. LSU hasn't won a regular season opener since 2020. That's pre-Brian Kelly. Obviously, we know the deal with Clemson coming off that playoff appearance and loss to Texas in the first round. A critical game that Brian Kelly says they have circled. There are tiger paws all over the facility in Baton Rouge as the teams head up to play in the upstate of South Carolina. Molly McGrath will be on the sidelines for that game, all part of a really busy and great weekend for her, which we'll get into in a second. So your Saturday starts with a hugely important game for both teams. What's the biggest thing, or as you phrased it, what's the biggest theme you're looking forward to in this game?
I think the biggest thing that can't be ignored is that Clemson is underrated. When you look at the AP poll, I think that Clemson should be the #1 team in the country. I think they're a legit title contender this year. And when you talk to coaches about what it takes to win a title, what's that secret sauce? It's two things that everyone says. It's a palpable culture, which Dabo Swinney has created at Clemson. Being around this program, especially in the last year, you can feel a shift. You can feel that this locker room has this incredible culture that they're all rallying around, and it's veteran talent returning. They have 81% of their production returning this season. It all starts with quarterback Cade Klubnik, right? Cade Klubnik returning is going to be huge. He has all of his receivers for the first time in his career. Their defense is stacked with Peter Woods and TJ Parker. Sammy Brown, their linebacker, that's a name that everyone is going to know by the end of this season. They have so much talent. New defensive coordinator in Tom Allen, who fits into that culture as well. I just think the sky's the limit for Clemson. So we'll see. Coming out of the gates week 1 against LSU, it's going to be a challenge, especially with Garrett Nussmeier, if he is going to be as great as we believe that he can be. But I really like Clemson this year. I think that they're a legit title contender, Harry.
Yeah, Molly, that continuity that you talk about in the returning production is the reason why the X factor for me in this game that I'm looking towards is how much or how well are LSU's transfers going to mesh by the time we kick this game off. Because we know they're talented at quarterback. We know about Garrett Nussmeier. I love the transfer wide receiver additions they had with Nick Anderson, Barry, and Brown. I think they're really going to be able to get the most out of those guys. But to me, it's the defensive transfers that are going to be a huge difference there. Patrick Payton, Mansour Delane, those are a couple of guys that I've had on my radar. If those guys can mesh well, we obviously know Blake Baker improved this defense from 52nd to 34 in SP Plus last year. If they're able to take another leap, then I think LSU turns into the national title contender that I think that they can be. But it's not going to be one of those things that you can kind of just smooth into when you're going up against a Clemson team that, Molly, I agree with you, probably should be #1 in the country. So you have to be good as soon as they kick that football off, or otherwise it might be 0-4 for LSU and Brian Kelly in week 1.
And when you're watching this game as well, if you're watching matchups, I'm looking at Chris Hilton Jr., wide receiver for LSU. He can take the top off of defenses versus a guy like Avion Terrell, who's a defensive back for Clemson. Chris Hilton Jr. in the bowl game last year went 4 catches, 113 yards, and a couple touchdowns. He was injured earlier in the season, but the reason why Garrett Nussmeier is so effective is because he has people like him and Aaron Anderson to throw the ball to. And so the matchup I'm looking forward to is that offense, the explosive offense, Chris Hilton Jr. being one of those players, versus Tom Allen, Avion Terrell, and the Clemson defense. If Clemson can slow down that explosive offense, should be a long day for LSU and Brian Kelly.
Last 5 openers, lost to Mississippi State, lost to UCLA, lost to Florida State in back-to-back years, and last year lost to USC. LSU needs a fast start in the worst of ways. And Fast weekend for Molly. Right after she's done with LSU and Clemson on a Saturday, she's off to Miami on a Sunday night on your local ABC station for Notre Dame and Miami. Molly, last time we saw the Irish, they were in the title game. Last time we saw Miami, they were blowing a 21-point lead in the regular season finale. Would have put them in the ACC title game. What's the biggest thing you're looking forward to as you get ready to be on the sidelines there at Hard Rock Stadium?
I think the biggest question marks for this game for both teams are going to be the quarterback positions. You look at Notre Dame, they have a legit quarterback competition this offseason between CJ Carr and Kenny Minchie. Who is going to be the guy to lead this team? And that will affect, too, the kind of offense that they employ, because Minchie is more of a dual threat, athletic kind of quarterback. But they have one of the best running backs in the country in Jeremiah Love. He's one of my early favorites for the Heisman. So I believe in Notre Dame because of that, because of some of the talent they do have returning at the skill positions. Their receiver room is stacked as well. And then for Miami, Carson Beck. Are we going to see the Carson Beck of 2023 where he kind of set college football aflame? Or are we going to see Carson Beck of 2024 where he threw 12 interceptions, kind of had the weight of the world on his shoulders? I believe this season can be his redemption tour. So I hope that Carson Beck can pull it back around and do good things for the Hurricanes.
All right, so that'll be the weekend of August 30th and 31st. On October 30th, we're going to have an interesting matchup here. Mike Vick, yes, that Mike Vick, now the head coach at Norfolk State, HBCU, is going to take on Deshaun Jackson. He's the head coach at Delaware State. It'll be played in Philadelphia at the Link, where they were both Eagle Stars, and they both gathered today in Philly to talk about it.
It's going to be a lot of conversations before the game, but during the game, we ain't gonna talk. It's gonna be heated because I know how he is and I know how I am. So it's gonna be a lot of energy.
Yeah, we both competitors and we're gonna push our guys to the edge. You know, hopefully, you know, and in this moment, definitely don't want to overlook the opponents that we have coming up. We both got a game in 2 weeks on the 28th, so you know, got to be respectful to that. But when we cross that bridge on the 30th of October, you know, it's gonna be very competitive, and that's what me and Deshaun is. We've been in the huddle together. We know we came back in games together. We came out swinging and smoking in games together. And so, you know, this is an opportunity for us to really put what we've learned over the last, year on display.
This is just great for HBCU football. And the one thing I want to mention, this game is going to be played on a Thursday. It deserves the attention if it would be played on a Saturday, but it would likely be drowned out. So to have this game on a Thursday is awesome. It's standalone for these two programs, these two guys. Sam, your thoughts?
My thoughts are it's exciting, but there's so much work to be done. Delaware State was 1-11 last season, 0-5 in conference. So Deshaun Jackson, if he wants to stay relevant, has to be able to take that program to another level. Same thing with Norfolk State. They had a losing record. So I'm excited for both coaches, but we saw how long it took Coach Prime to turn around Jackson State. We're going to need immediate success if you want to see them have long careers in their coaching tenures.
Yeah, Sam, I think the trend that we've seen with former NFL players, taking HBCU school opportunities to sort of break into the coaching mold has been beneficial for everybody. One, for the players who get to learn from some guys that they idolized and some of the game that they get from some of the best that we've ever seen play football. A lot of people that were already HBCU football fans, this doesn't change anything for you. It just adds another dynamic to it. And then it is bringing more new eyes to HBCU football. So I think everybody's a winner in this. I got to speak with Michael Vick about this earlier in the offseason. He said he was really looking forward to the opportunity to just mentor young guys. So I think it's always cool when we see guys that were really skilled on the field and just, again, people that they've idolized, come into these jobs and really uplift them, especially for Michael Vick, who's from nearby Newport News, to take over Norfolk State. I think it's a really cool opportunity for him.
Next step in his journey. What a journey it has been. Best of luck to both. We will see you on October 30th. On the way, school's about to start, but when school ends, of course, we have, oh man, yes, superlatives. The best of, most likely to. Are those actual high school pictures? We'll tell you next. We're back on College Football Live. We have determined these actually were our high school pictures. Congratulations to all. None of us has aged the day in fill in the blank years. Some of us have been out of high school a little longer than others. I think I'm leading the pack there. So let's go. Superlatives most likely to succeed. Sam, who gets the honor?
The Clemson Tigers are the most likely team to succeed. Why do I say that? We talk about all the returning talent, but this team is battle tested. They're going to be facing LSU, who called it Death Valley Junior, so they have that relatively easy schedule. SMU, a team they beat last season, and then end of the season they play South Carolina, a team they want to get back to. Molly said it earlier, but this is a national championship ready squad, returning every end of season starter at wide receiver and a quarterback who likely is going to be a top pick in the draft.
Molly, cutest couple, high school love rarely lasts, right?
That's true, but this is a love that's going to last. Alabama head coach Kalen DeBoer and his offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb are reunited. They spent 17 years together, took a year apart with Grubb in the NFL, and now the fact that they're returning together, I think it spells success for Alabama's offense.
And anything but success for the class clown, Harry. What do we have here?
Yeah, Zubin, I'm picking at the AP poll voters. How is Arizona State not higher? We talked about massive addition in that backfield.
No doubt about it. Just a reminder, our reporter series will continue tomorrow with our Chris Budden, and then we'll wrap it up on Thursday with Katie George. So it's been really great to get the perspective of Holly Rowe yesterday, who is celebrating, by the way, her 30th year on the sidelines of the biggest events in sports. Molly with us here today, Chris and Katie tomorrow, as we get closer to week 0 in Dublin, Ireland, between Kansas State and Iowa State. And then 3 top 10 matchups on week 1, an unprecedented lineup to open the 2025 season on the way to crowning a champion